a good comment that I kind of wanted to touch on, because again, this is just kind of shows how synergetic ecosystems are. So Rico Staines is saying that I think the Cardano R&D is the only way to build sustainable blockchains. Look at projects that don't. Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is look at who created Cardano, who created Ergo, Alex, right? Kushti, one of the top researchers of input output, right? So a lot of the stuff that is actually rolled out on Cardano was researched by him, right? So we have that same mentality in Ergo. Ergo has the whole research first, science first strategy and fundamentals, because the founder is that guy. Things like this, where they where they move fast and break things, that culture of moving fast and breaking things. I worked in it, that was Silicon Valley. You can't do that anymore. I mean, you can't do that in blockchain. Your website crashes, your work processor crashes. Work processor, that's old people talk. But anyway, you know what I mean. MS Office, that thing crashes. You're like, shit. Okay, well, maybe I got it saved. It's not the end of the world. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass. You lost some progress. Your infrastructure crashes, not good. Your protocol takes a dump, not good. So that's why you can't keep turning things off and on and hoping that they'll restart the right way. You can't be rolling stuff back too much and relying on, yeah, we fucked up. Okay, we'll just roll it back. It's okay. It's a database, right? You roll databases back. That's what you do with databases, right? You just roll them back. Can't do that. And the way you kind of your insurance policy to make sure things like this happen very, very rarely, if not at all, is research first, science first.
I think there's a lot to be said here in terms of R&D, if you're actually building original solutions or you're just copy pasta and tweaking existing ones, right? There's a ton of copy pasta tweak in the crypto space where there's literally nothing new, nothing original. It's just like hashing together old parts from a junkyard saying, let's get it back on the road, right? Versus the actual design from scratch and quality assurance. That's more the Ergo way. I know Cardano does the same thing. That's a lot harder, right? The quick, easy, dirty solution is to take something that already exists, modify it a little bit to fit and get it on the road. And then sometimes that happens with solutions that are, frankly, maybe even out of date, right? And we see that a lot, not just on the blockchain level, but a ton on the application level, where, it's like, oh, this DeFi protocol failed. And then, it did have a nice little jump. So let's fork it and, rename it, rebrand, and go through the same process. That's totally different, in my opinion, than building from scratch with a first principles based approach. Second's a lot harder.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. It gets a lot harder. And the thing about it is, so this is actually kind of a funny story, and but it kind of gives you a good perspective about it. So this is before we launched Cardano. I believe it was early 2017, right before we launched, right? And so we were in Malta. We were all in Malta, and this was the first big IOG, or at that point IOHK summit, a company summit, where we got to meet a lot of the people that we were working with for the first time. We kind of got to really, kind of build a bond as a team. And I remember that at that point, I was still, as some of you know, I came into the Cardano ecosystem early on, basically when it just started. a couple of months after the project started in 2016 as a project manager, and I actually ran the project that created the sales app that did the pre-sale of Cardano. And so after that, I was basically kind of the only, legit project manager at that point, on site. And so what I tried to do is I kind of tried to give people guidance on how to do agile project management and to, organize things, just to kind of give things structure. And so what I did was I did this whole session with the company, with the development team, about how to, for better Scrum and Agile practices and Kanban and Scrum practices and development, what we should do, and all these ideas that I had. And then they asked me, they said, okay, do the same thing with the research department. And I'm like, okay. And so I just kind of try to do that. And the first thing that, and it worked as well, right? Because one of the head researchers came out and said, I understand what Dan is trying to do, but, how do you do an iteration? I mean, what do you tell people to think harder? I mean, it's not quantifiable that way, right? Research is research. You do go through iterations, and but you can't make people think faster and harder, So you can do the same thing. So basically, the reason why I'm bringing this up is, and then kind of Charles, I remember, gave me the evil eyes, like, Dan, you're trying to agile my research team. Don't do that. The reason why I'm saying that is because it's hard to quantify sometimes when you're not really there doing the research, how much time this research takes, and what it takes to really develop these things that we are now building on and utilizing and are excited about. It's fucking hard. Okay. It's way above my head, and I'm not the dumbest person in the room. And it sometimes it takes years, but sometimes it has to take years. Right. And, there's this culture still in the block space that really, again, this blockchain already came out with this stuff, or these guys got a bigger TVL, or these guys, yeah, but if they didn't take the same amount of time to research this stuff, I mean, we don't have stupider researchers, researchers are, good people, they're smart people. So it usually takes a certain amount of time to research stuff. If they didn't take that time to research properly and build these things out, then it's shit. It will break. It's not thought through. You have to take the time, and you can't hurry stuff up. And so that's what I'm saying. It's hard for people to quantify that sometimes and get impatient. But the bottom line is that it takes what it takes, and you have to let it be done that way, or else it's just going to mess up. It will.